What's going on, guys? We're live. Week 16, hottest hitters, coldest hitters, sell high, buy low, all coming at you now. What's going on, guys? Bourbon N Ball here. Doug, my friend Mikey V down there, coming from Clearwater, Florida. We're bringing you week 16 hottest hitters, coldest hitters, some honorable mentions, and some good sell highs and buy lows. And with the trade deadline coming up in just a couple weeks, we only get to do this segment like 2 more times, and then we're done. So very, very wild to say the least. We're going to have to switch it up and maybe do something like along the lines of a surprise performances or something like that, and or some along the lines of that. But let's just start off and kick it up. Let's talk about some of the hot ones. And there we are. There they are. Some surprises, no surprises. I will say a little honorable mention here in our recorded shows that we do once a week that get dropped on Monday mornings. We did have Cade Cavelli on there, did we not, Mike?
We
Talk
sure
about
did.
A call and a half, man. Talk about a call, and the streak continues. Every week it's a couple guys that we're calling out that are coming in, that are hitting. Cade Cavelli was one of them. Again, it's a recorded show. It's dropped every Monday. It's more about lineups and pitching and streamers. So you need help, especially with the playoffs coming along. You're looking for streaming position or whatnot. Give it a listen. It's fun. Go to work, pop it in. It's fun. It's a good time. Yeah. So let's start out from the top, man. Some happy one here. It's a happy little thing we got going on here because you got Braves catcher DH Drake Baldwin, 96.7% owned, a 481, 4 homers, 9 ribbies, 8 runs, only 2 strikeouts, 1 stolen base, 48 points, 6.9 a start. Finally, right? I mean, you were holding this guy. He came back from the IL. He was hot. Then he was cold, and now it looks like he's starting to heat up again just in time. Ronald Acuna should be back in the lineup at some point next week. I don't know why they're keeping him down and rehab for so long in those rehab games, but he should make his way up. And, of course, when he comes up, it seems like that whole lineup goes. So you could be seeing more of Braves players in this Who's Not. And then, of course, man, talk about another guy who just went extremely cold. And it's wild. We're going to talk about him later on. But Fernando Tatis Jr., Padres outfield second baseman, 99.4% owned. He had a pretty good week himself. 407, 3 homers, 12 ribbies, 7 runs, only 3 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, 47 points, 6.7 a start. And then we got some honorable mentions. And it's funny because there is always a theme with this. It's if you have one player from a team who's hot, it's more than likely that they'll have some others that are honorable mentions in this list. And Padres Ty France is one of them, 41 points. CJ Abrams, 39. Jeremy Pena, 34. Yordan Alvarez, Michael Harris. And Brewers Joey Ortiz, 33 points. And then last but not least, you got Tigers catcher Dylan Dingler at 32.
Wow, the Dingler is back on the list. It's great to see. I mean, let's talk about Drake Baldwin, right? He's been a kind of a fresh breath of fresh air for the Braves and catching, second-year player, really breaking out. And I don't think the streak is going to continue, Doug, or it is going to continue because we have Baltimore, we have the Mets, we have the Nationals that are next for Drake Baldwin, all favorable matchups for him. So he's heating up at the right time for you, starting that second half in the right manner. And then you got Fernando Tatis. And yeah, he's on this list this week, but let me tell you, Doug, last 30 days, it's been pretty good for him. Still, that average has been not really the concern, but it's kind of been everything else that goes along with it. But even the last 30 days, 6 home runs, 21 RBIs, 7 stolen bases with that 289 average and a couple walks in there. We're talking 12 walks. So really kind of just been truly productive. He has 27 strikeouts. I think it's like a 20% clip this month. Still, I think that's pretty decent compared to some other guys, right? So really good to see him really starting to pop off. Ty France, hey, great week. He had a great series against Kansas City, had that 20-point game, right? A couple home runs, really just kind of crushed it. But yeah, you know, it's good to see him back on the list. We love Ty France, you know, former Seattle Mariner. CJ Abrams, right? Absolute stud this year, #1 shortstop in most fantasy leagues. So continuing starting him every single week, right? And then I'm going to follow up with Joey Ortiz here. I mean, Joey Ortiz, sneaky good, batting number 9 in that lineup. I've liked him for a little bit just as a player, not really so much from a fantasy perspective, but it's great to see him get the recognition now, having a great week. And then I'm going to end it with a question for you, Doug. We're both Michael Harris guys. We loved the Michael Harris when he came up. That was kind of your kind of call out when he first came up, right? You're a Max guy. You saw him when he first got called up. Michael Harris was definitely, you were on the Michael Harris train. Now he's 25 years old. It looks like he's about to set career highs almost in every category this year. And it looks like he's on pace to play about 150 games. So is this the real Michael Harris, Doug?
Man, that's a loaded question right there, man. I mean, I want to say it is, but again, you've never seen it before. You've never seen Michael Harris put together a full year from start to finish without, hitting the IL, coming back, slumping for a month, and then maybe trying to bust his way out of it. I don't think you've seen him this hot, this long, ever. So I want to say it is, but then a part of me is like, okay, well, you know what? Before we start wasting an early draft pick on him next year, let's maybe see how he finishes the year, maybe see how he starts the year next year, and then maybe going forward, reevaluate where his draft pick is going to be. I mean, we're going to do a draft show. I mean, it's crazy. We're already talking about draft shows, but we are going to do mock drafts. We are going to do that kind of stuff in the off season because we are still going to be doing shows. So it's going to be interesting to see where he finishes and where he's ranked. I mean, here's a question for you. And I mean, obviously I know the answer for me, but I mean, like a Corbin Carroll, right? We're going to talk about him and we did a little trade. He's underperforming. I would say kind of hard, a little bit, right? I mean, it's not the Corbin Carroll we all tend to love the last 2 or 3 years. I guess I don't want to say who's better because obviously Corbin Carroll is better than Michael Harris, but how much better you think is that trend slowly kind of like evening out?
It's weird.
Where do you see the two?
These young outfielders, you just talked about Corbin Carroll. J-Rod was a very, top guy that's supposed to be average, home runs, RBIs, right? And he had that one outliner season. And you can kind of almost argue the same thing for both Corbin Carroll having that great rookie campaign that he did. And then Michael Harris really having a great rookie campaign as well. Obviously, part-time, getting called up about halfway through the season, but still a great showing. But I think between all 2 of those guys, and if you want to throw in J-Rod for 3 of those guys, a lot of inconsistencies early in their career. And it's really tough to kind of gauge on what kind of player they're going to be moving forward long-term. I think they both, in Michael Harris and Corbin Carroll, will eventually hit consistencies when it comes to their, yearly numbers. But I think right now, they're still kind of weathering the storm of, is Corbin Carroll a consistent 25-25 guy? Or is Michael Harris going to consistently hit you maybe 20 home runs now? I think the most home runs he's had in the season, was like 20 or 22. And he's got 19 right now. So we know he's probably going to crush that this year. Is that the type of player he really is, though? I'm kind of leaning toward, yeah. I think if he's healthy 100% and that lineup is healthy at 100%, I think he's a great fit for. We always talked about a few years ago when he was really good. You had Acuna up top. You had Michael Harris on the 9 hole, and it was kind of just a nice circulating lineup that they had before. I think it's really dependent on the team, on if they're going to stay healthy.
It's funny you're talking about lineups. Do you think a part of his success is maybe that he's not in that 9 hole anymore?
Partly. I think opportunity right there. He's going to have career RBIs as well this year. So it sounds like he's getting more opportunity. He's getting at-bats when guys are on base.
So what's your lineup going to look like now when Acuna Jr. comes back?
Man, I would still probably keep him up there. You can't let go of a guy like that and have, even one less at-bat, right? You put the guy at 1 or 2. You make sure he gets the at-bats that he needs. And Michael Harris is one of those guys right now. I think he's one of the better hitters on that team, along with Drake Baldwin. That they need to be up.
Elvis has been pretty good too.
Yeah, and they need to be up at the top of that lineup to get those extra at bats if they can. So Acuna, man, it's a tough lineup because there's no like wrong way to set this lineup, right? Like you can do so many different ways that you can have Acuna batting first, you can have Michael Harris batting second, you can put Drake Baldwin at third, and then you have Matt Olson fourth, Albies fifth, maybe Riley sixth, or if you said, I want Acuna batting third, we want Michael Harris batting leadoff. You could do something like that too. You throw Albies maybe at batting the 2 hole, and then you drop Baldwin to 4. Like I don't think there's a wrong answer there, but I don't think for Michael Harris, like batting in the 6 hole is going to benefit him long term, or the 7th hole, like we've seen previous years.
It's interesting. It'll definitely be interesting to see what Walt Weiss does with that lineup when he does come back. It's a good problem to have. That's all. So let's go to pitchers. Cade Cavalli, like I said, I mean, we caught this. He was on our Monday show for sleepers for this week. His week's still not over. I believe he still has one more start, but he was one of our must-start sleepers. So kudos to us. So, and he in the last 7 days is the highest scoring starting pitcher in fantasy. So, of course, we're talking about national starting pitcher Cade Cavalli, 26.7% owned, 2-0, 12 innings pitched, 17 strikeouts, 2 earned, 2 walks, 50.76 points. First start at the A's in Sacramento. Then he was in Colorado. So these are starts that I think, like I said, that's why we had him as a must start, because these were starts that I personally think he could go in and he could win, and he did that. I look at him as like a Sean Burke. Very similar, stable pitchers that when the matchup's right, they're right. And that's what you saw. And then you got Braves starting pitcher Chris Sale, who is slowly making his way back up to the top 3 as far as Cy Young is concerned for the National League between, well, actually, you could even say 4, right? If you want to throw Wheeler in there, him, Sanchez, and The Miz. But The Miz is kind of what they're going to do with him in the second half is really going to maybe deteriorate some of those votes that he could probably get. But he had a really good 7 days, too. 2 starts, 2-0, 13 innings, 17 strikeouts, 3 earned, 1 walk, 50.24 points. First start versus the Rangers, then versus the Padres. Very, these are playoff teams. He's going in, he's winning, and that's a good sign for them. I did watch the Padres game, and I know, Mike, me and you were talking back and forth. I do own Chris Sale in our money league, and I was a little scared. 3 runs, I think, in the second or third. And I'm saying to myself, oh, come on, don't let this be the Chris Sale start where you think he should go in and dominate, and he just gives up like 6 runs. I'm like, just don't let this be that start. Man, he right in the ship, ended up striking out like 10 or 11, struck out the side in the 6th, throwing 97, 98 for 37-year-old pitcher. Good sign to see. He's still got the fight. And then some honorable mentions here. Shane Bieber, 44.24 points. Brady Singer, this is another guy we had listed as a must-start sleeper last week. Man, 43.56 points. You guys might want to start watching that show on Mondays. Let me tell you. Tigers starting pitcher Montero, 36 points. Jake Bennett with the Red Sox gave you 34. Giants pitcher Landon Root, 33. And last but not least, Yamamoto gave you 31 points.
Yamamoto, Mr. Consistent, huh? Let's start from the top. Cade Cavalieri here. He is, I think, one of the most underrated pitchers in fantasy. And I only say that because you look at his numbers and you look at his win-loss, and then all of a sudden you look at how many points he has scored, especially in our league, Doug. It's actually pretty shocking. He has almost 250 points scored, and he's only like a 7-4 record with, like a mid-3 ERA with like a 1.3 whip. It just doesn't make sense. But there's always some of these guys that are kind of outliners that kind of, are breaking the rules, like the fantasy rules. I feel like Cade is one of those guys this year. And you gotta play him out. He actually is a pretty good pitcher when he is on. And we've seen that the last couple starts here. So, and same thing with Chris Sale too. He's come on. Like, this guy is just Mr. Consistent, right? Like, this guy's been doing this for over a decade. This is no surprise to us here. This is the Chris Sale that we all grown to love and watch. So I hope he does win Cy Young, to be honest with you, Doug. I think you said it right. I think you said, hey, the Miz, we'll see what the second half looks like. It's funny. We talk about trades and, being bold in redraft leagues. And, I know I made a trade with the Miz, earlier this week. I know another person on our forum also made a trade, the Miz. So you got to get creative in some of these moments. But if you got a Chris Sale, where he's going to be at the end of the year. He's going to be trying to pitch 200 innings and 240 strikeouts and trying to win a Cy Young at the age of 37, 38 years old. Like, what are we doing? This guy's amazing.
I will say, I think his arm is really like 32 years old because of all the time he's missed with Boston.
Well, remember that bike incident that we had, right?
And then Tommy John, and then it was like a 3-year thing where I think he only pitched something like a handful of games,
Yeah, so you're probably right. He probably does have a couple extra years in that compared to his age, but great to see him on the list, though. The other guys that popped out, I'm looking at Shane Bieber, and we're in our chat. We're talking about Shane Bieber a little bit. We are believers when we want to be believers, I feel. We're big fans, but are we there yet with Justin? Jeez. Are we there yet with Shane?
Justin Bieber.
Justin.
I'm not. I'm not there quite yet. I think he needs to show me a little more. He's been very inconsistent, and you look at his first, 4 starts. They were not good. They weren't long in length. They just didn't look good. So I think if he can come in and he can continue it for a little more, show me another consistent 3 more starts or so. And then, I'll be a believer. Listen, he's got the tools. He can throw. We all know. Former Cy Young, Triple Crown winner for pitching. He can do it all. There's no doubt about that. It's just making sure he's healthy, making sure he's got the control, and just he could be a huge benefactor for somebody down the stretch in playoffs.
I absolutely agree. Yeah,
it's those type of players that'll win you your league. Those late round picks that you end up getting so much value from. That'll put you over the edge and get you to the ship and help, most of the time help you win it.
Yeah, and I look at standings this week too, Doug, and I think the most disappointing team to this point, surprisingly, Toronto Blue Jays. They were, 11 games under 500, I think Wednesday or Thursday or so. They might be sellers at the end of this. And Shane Bieber is on a 1-year deal or so. Obviously coming off of elbow surgery, has some contingencies. The Blue Jays have an opportunity to move off this guy if they would like to. That's just kind of how I'm looking at that. And same thing with Brady Singer, too. I know we called him out last week on Monday, but Brady Singer, I think, is doing himself some favors by pitching like this the last couple weeks, pitching pretty well for himself. He could be pitching his way out of Cincinnati as well. And then I want to end it with Jake Bennett. I love Jake Bennett. I'm a fan of Jake Bennett. But let me tell you, he's going to have his day. It's just when I watch him pitch, Doug, I don't see that overpowering stuff that the league is kind of gearing toward. He's kind of a finesse guy, right? He doesn't throw very hard. He doesn't throw 97, 98. He's got a lot of junk. I just don't know how long that's going to truly last, right? His last outing was 5 2/3 against Baltimore, and it was the first time we haven't seen him be a little bit vulnerable in his starts. So, again, I think this is a great sell high guy. I know we're going to talk about a couple other guys that are sell highs, but I think Jake Bennett, you could throw right in that mix right now. He's got great numbers, and we just don't know enough about him to trust him, I think, toward the end of the stretch here for the fantasy season. What do you think, Doug?
That's fair. And again, who knows what they're going to do with him down the line, if they want to maybe save him, maybe don't have him extended in games, like don't have him pitch those 6 innings. If you're up 6-0, maybe just have him pitch 5, get the win, pull him, that kind of stuff. Maybe just save his arm, because right now, man, what are they up 2 games in the wild card after that win streak? It's insane. It is insane. I'm reading articles that they're on the verge of trading Chapman to the White Sox, which didn't end up becoming, didn't prosper because of the winning streak. It's really is insane. And I do have to say, if the article is real or not, kudos to the White Sox for being buyers. Like just to go out there and put some joy in that fan base and show them that they want to, they're not like here for fun. Like they want to win, and to go out there and get a Chapman or somebody like that. That's what you want to see, especially in a team that hasn't been winning a lot in the last 4 or 5 years.
Hey, you got a new front office over there in Chicago, and if you got this window, if you're a middle market team, small market team, you got to make that move. You have to really evaluate, and this is the week to do it. You only have 7 days before that trade deadline, so this is the week to really look at your standings. I think you can truly see 6, 7 teams now are going to be true sellers. So now I think we have a clearer idea of who truly could be moved at this point. I think it's nice. It's always fun to play the rumor games. But I think truly now, I think once you hear something, that might be some truth to some in this coming week. So I'm glad the Red Sox made the streak. It's unbelievable. 15 straight games. Unbelievable. I just don't know if they're going to hold on. I mean, their pitching's getting healthier. If their bats can stay alive, if we're going to talk about a guy that turned it around is Caleb Durbin. I mean, geez, Louise. Well, once he changed hitting coaches and went to, I think, was he in Saugus or something, Saugus, Massachusetts, going to a new hitting coach. And all of a sudden it's a new baseball player out there. And he's been really good for fantasy owners. I feel like these past month or so, I feel like he's just 5 points, 6 points, 7 points. He's just, and he's 10 home runs already, I think, to this point. He could be sneakily trying to go for a 2020 season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for all the jokes that front office has received for kind of standing pat and not doing anything, right now, I think they have the last laugh.
They absolutely do. Imagine shutting the whole city of Boston up. That doesn't happen often.
Drink it up. Yep. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some cold ones here, and some familiar faces, some very familiar faces. So let's just start out from the top here. You got Marlins second shortstop Xavier Edwards, 91% owned, 0.87, no homers, no ribbies, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. Did give you a stolen base, but still -3 points on the week. That's kind of rough. And Pirates outfield first base DH Reiner Hand, 71% owned, 0.91, no homers, 1 ribby, 2 runs, 10 strikeouts, 1 stolen base, and -3 points as well. And then we do have some honorable mentions here. Bobby Witt Jr., I know he's on the IL, but him and Brian Reynolds both gave you -2. Ivan Herrera gave you -1. Brandon Lau gave you 0. Tucker gave you 1. Rafael Devers gave you 2. And then you got Juan Soto and Byron Buxton. They all gave you 3. So again, you're seeing it in chunks. You're seeing a lot of Pirates players on here. They had a really rough week.
Yeah, and you said it. Like sometimes we got these themes with players, whether if they're hot, they're not. They're probably going to have a teammate or two on there. And I think the theme with this list right here that I'm looking at, especially with Miami, Xavier Woods, right? We know he doesn't hit for power. His strength is average. His strength is getting on base, scoring runs, stolen bases. If he doesn't do any of that, and then along with 10 strikeouts this week, there's going to be a kind of a cruddy floor there. He's been so consistent this year, so obviously an outliner week, but you can't really say the same thing for Ryan O'Hearn. He's had some great weeks, obviously, but again, just a poor week. And the thing with both of these offenses, Doug, is I think that they overperformed in the first half. And I'm going to shoot the shot right there. I know it might be a little early in the second half to say that. But Miami wasn't on anyone's radar this year. And their strength is, like I said, their stolen bases and its speed and contact. The Pirates really didn't have anything cooking. They went out and got a Ryan O'Hearn. They went out and got a Brandon Lowe that you just mentioned, and to try to improve their offense. And they've been good additions to this point, but I just think it's just going to catch up to both teams, where these guys, I think, overperformed a little bit. Your boy, Ryan Reynolds, is on here, or Brian Reynolds. It's just like, that's a tough one. He's had such a good first half, and depending on what the Pirates want to do, man, what a great asset he would be to a team or two, right? Man, I don't know if the Pirates will be sellers at this point. They're still pretty decent, but that's a guy that, as a veteran, been around the block. A lot of teams could benefit for a right-hitting outfielder like him. He would be a great addition, but I expect him to pan out, though. But some of these other guys in that lineup, I don't know. We'll see if Valdez keeps it up. That rookie, just unbelievable so far to this point. But, yeah, just not great. And then what do you do with a Kyle Tucker, Doug?
I was just going to ask you, Mike. What do you do?
It's kind of been weird. I like to get your take on this, because I'm kind of I'm on so many different levels. I can keep him in the lineup. I can wait it out because I am a Kyle Tucker fan.
Yeah, of course.
Or do you move him and just say, if I feel like he might be a headache because he's kind of been a headache lately, maybe I just move the name and try to get something that's going to get me back something a little bit more steady?
Man, that's a great question. I feel like if you keep him and you start him, he's not really going to hurt you because he still doesn't really strike out a ton, right? I mean, he's not a guy that'll swing and miss. I think he's almost like an outfielder version of Freddie Freeman, in my opinion, with more stolen bases. So the context there. So if you do keep him, he's not really going to hurt you. Now, if you want to trade him, I could see that too. You know, why not go out and get something you need? And instead of sitting there and waiting for Kyle Tucker to turn it around, like it's one of those things where, okay, well, how long am I going to wait until he turns it around? And what if he never does for the rest of the year? You've just wasted, an entire year just holding, waiting, and wishing for something that's just not going to happen. You know, he does have name recognition. He's not horrible. His numbers are still pretty decent. Although I will say, like, a Brian Reynolds has more points than him, which is bizarre. But you're not going to trade him for a Brian Reynolds straight up, obviously. But I'm just throwing that out there. Like, yeah, I mean, there is name recognition. He is still in a lineup that just produces. Will he turn it around? Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I thought he would have turned it around already, if I have to be honest. So if he hasn't done it yet, I don't know. You know, your trade deadline's in 2 weeks. There's a lot of stuff you really got to consider, man. And I know you're really thinking about trading him. I know we've discussed it and you've kind of hinted at it a little bit. And I remember I was going to throw you I think we were going to do a trade, but you didn't want to. You wanted to keep him. You wanted to ride him out. And that's what happens when you do that and you keep somebody and you ride them out, is that the longer you hold on to them and they never prosper the way they're supposed to, the value is just going to go down more and more and more each week, each day. And what was offered last week or 2 weeks ago might not be offered this week.
1,000%.
That's the game you play with that. It's gambling, right?
It is. And it's just, when he is good and he's on, he's the best hitter. And that's why he was a former first round fantasy pick. That's just what his caliber can be. So it's tough to swallow the pill, the realistic pill, and say, hey, I got to chalk this up as a loss this year for this guy in redraft leagues. And, I can still get something for him. Like you said, it's not like he's not producing zero, but it's just the level that you expect was something completely different. So, yeah, I think I am going to keep him on the block, Doug. Outfield right now in one of my leagues has been rough. I got Cody Bellinger in that outfield as well. Something, I don't know what happened with him, but he hit a wall this past, I'd say, even over a month at this point. Yeah. So I can't have two guys that are both hitting walls, especially toward the stretch down here.
Well, I mean, talk to me.
Might have to talk after this. We might have to talk.
I like it. We can put something together. All right, let's talk pitching. And honestly, I mean, this really should. I don't even know if Nick's. So when we do the who's not, we like to at least put people that are at least 70% owned, right? Because it's easy to say, well, that guy's not hot when he's only 3% owned because he's only 3% owned. He's just not going to be good, right? So we like to do 70% or higher. Well, can I just tell you, Framber Valdez is at the cusp. He is 71.3% owned. This is a guy who was like a fourth. I think I drafted him in the fourth round, right? I mean, what wasn't to like about him? His stuff was still there. He's threw hard, decent pitcher. But, man, to see that ownership go from 99 to 71 is one of the biggest turnarounds in fantasy I think I've seen in a very long time, especially from what Framber Valdez. It's not like he just sucked overnight. He, for the last 3 or 4 years, was one of the top 10 starting pitchers in fantasy. And now he's this. Rough start. This was at Chicago. 0-1. Didn't even give you an inning. Give you 2/3. 1 strikeout, 6 earned, 2 walks, negative 9.68 points. And then Braxton Ashcroft with the Pirates, relief starting pitcher, 87% owned. 0-1, 3 innings, 2 Ks, 7 earned, 1 walk, negative 8.56. That was in New York against the Yankees. I think he might be hitting that wall, that rookie wall where they gotta really have to start monitoring him because he does have a lot of innings so far, and that's the thing which kind of blows my mind. Where if you have a rookie pitcher going, they're good. Why are you letting them pitch 110 innings the first half? It's a full season. Wouldn't you want to monitor it from the beginning instead of the end, especially if you're a playoff team in the hunt? It blows my mind why they do that. Like the Miz, he's going to be good. Why are you letting him pitch 120 innings the first half of the year when that's like a career high for him in the first half? You still have a whole second half. You have the postseason. Who knows how deep of a run you can make in the postseason? You should be monitoring his innings from the first start he takes the mound. That's when it should happen. Whether you go with a 6-man rotation or, I remember games when they were up like 8-0 and he's out there in the 7th. And that's where I'm like, well, hold on a second. Like, it's a good story. He's good. He's a great pitcher. But the innings, why? Have him go 5 or 6. Why is he out there 7 or 8? It just blows my mind. And I think Ashcroft is kind of hitting that wall. Some honorable mentions here: Joe Ryan, -8. Kevin Gausman, who has, I think he's 0-6 in his last 9 starts, -6. Nathan Eovaldi, -5. Shane McClanahan, -4. Freddie Peralta, -3. Hunter Brown, -3. And Jacob deGrom, -1.76.
Yeah, Jacob deGrom has not been Jacob deGrom that we thought he was going to be this year. So, again, just a tough year for him. Man, I feel like Hunter Brown just can't turn it around. He just can't get his feet wet and just get comfortable, it feels, since he's been back in that rotation. But, Framber Valdez, look, it's just not working out. It's just not working out at this point. I think for fantasy owners, if you decided to move on from him, I would totally understand. Like you said, Doug, he was a top 10 pitcher for so many years. We did see some regression last year, but we didn't think it was going to be a burnout like this so far to this point.
Fell off a cliff.
It's brutal. It's brutal. And, he's not doing himself any favors either, for his longevity. I feel like he signed that 2-year deal, I believe, with Detroit.
3.
Was it a 3-year deal? Yeah. It was surprising because we didn't think he was going to get a multi-year deal, and he kind of snuck in and did at the 25th hour there. So that's a tough contract to have. And if you're producing like that, I don't know. Detroit might be stuck. They're going to have to eat it or something like that. But the way they've been playing, the way their season's been going, they're going to be probably sellers. And they had some money that they spent early on with some of these guys, like a Riley Green. That could be also out there as well. Kerry Carpenter could be out there. But Framber is going to be a little bit harder to move. But I'm not buying Framber. If I had Framber and I had a pretty decent bench, I might even drop him, depending on what my team looks like. That's just kind of the point where I'm at with him. I know it's brutal. Brutal. It's cutthroat, Doug. You know what else is cutthroat? Braxton Ashcraft. The party's over. The party's over.
I wasn't even invited to the party, man.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I was invited to the party, and I'll tell you, it was awesome. It was great. Actually, our buddy Sean invited me because he dropped him early on. And I'll tell you, I had great games with Braxton Ashcraft this year. Putting him in that relief-eligible position, it was like a set and forget in the first half. But we saw it toward the end of the first half. We started to see the wheels fall off. He had a couple lucky wins when he gave up a lot of runs. And, I think some of the points kind of masked the last few weeks. But I think it's safe to say that the party is over for Braxton Ashcraft. And I think he's a week-to-week guy at this point. And like you said, Doug, they're going to start monitoring his innings. So I don't know. It looks kind of gloomy for the second half for a Braxton Ashcraft. And then last but not least, Gausman, Ryan, Freddie Peralta. These are 3 guys that are on the block. They play for teams that are not playing very good. And at this point, I think we can almost consider all 3 of those teams, including Minnesota, sellers at this point. Those 3 guys are very appealing. And when they're on top of their game, they are very good pitchers. And they didn't do themselves any favors trying to get out of where they are at this point. And I don't know. A Gausman, right? We talk about Gausman kind of consistently on this program because he's like our Mendoza line. It's like he'll give up 6 earned, but then the next outing he can go 6 innings, 10 Ks. He can do that a handful of times for you throughout the year. But this year's just been bad. It's just been really bad. So if you're one of those three pitchers, Doug, if you had one of these three pitchers, what are you doing with them? Yeah, obviously you're hoping that they probably get moved, but man, this is a week-to-week basis, right? I mean, Freddie P, like, woof, Peralta.
I mean, if you were gonna rank him, let's just say Ryan, Valdez, Peralta, and Gosman, I would probably go. I think Ryan would be the best out of the four because he's had the better season. And man, I mean, it's like maybe Valdez because when he hasn't been terrible. Like there were some starts against Oakland. I mean, he got you 26, 27 points. Like some of the starts he's had weren't bad, but his bad starts are very bad. That's the thing. Like when when a bad start's going to happen. When he gives up a couple runs in the first inning, you're like, okay, you know what? This is it. This is the bad start. But when he gets through it, you're like, okay, it's going to be a decent start. And his good starts are good. They really are. I mean, I think he had 8 strikeouts and gave you the quality start against Oakland. He looked really good. And people have thought, well, maybe he turned the corner, but he didn't. So I'd maybe put him after Joe Ryan. And then probably, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Peralta. Gosman is just, I mean, man, the guy's like 0-6 in his last 9 starts. He's bad. I mean, Peralta's bad too. Don't get me wrong. I honestly, I wouldn't want any of them. But if I were to rank them, I mean, I would probably side a little more with Peralta. But I don't know. Maybe because I'm just biased. I just don't like Gosman.
Yeah, I think the best. This is gonna sound biased. It's gonna be shocking. Best place for Freddie Peralta is Tampa Bay. I think they could maybe fix him a little bit down there.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because they just do so well with pitching. I feel like they know how to handle pitching well, just development. Maybe they can find something what's wrong with him this year, maybe fix it. And then they need an extra pitcher for that rotation anyway. That could be a good fit, especially if they're going to make the playoffs. They need another starting guy in that playoff rotation. I think that could be a good fit if the Mets wanted to move off of it.
All right, that's fair. And so that concludes the who's hot and who's not. Now, let's talk about some sell high and buy lows, okay? Trade deadline's in a couple weeks. You only got a couple weeks to make some trades. You only got a couple weeks to set your lineups. You only got a couple weeks to make sure you're set for the ship, for the playoffs, because those are starting in a couple weeks for some leagues. Some deep leagues, 12-team leagues, you're starting playoffs in like early mid-August. So let's start talking some wheeling and dealing, because if you do need to boost up your lineups, you really need to do it this week and next week. So here's a guy that I think is a sell high. Again, let me explain myself. There he is. You know him? One of the hotter players. Padres outfield second baseman Tatis. He's 99.4% owned on the week. 407, 3 homers, 12 ribbies, 7 runs, 3 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases, 47 points, 6.7 a start. Man, what a week for Tatis. And for people that were holding him, it might finally be paying off. But the real question is, do you think it can continue? I honestly don't think it can. I don't see him slumping as bad as he was in the first few months of the year, where he only had 1 home run, which is the most bizarre thing ever. But I also don't see him keeping this up. I have him here as a sell because he finally has some value. And owners that were looking to move on from him earlier in the year and couldn't because his numbers were just so bad, this is your chance, right? Now, I don't think you'll get back an equivalent to where he was drafted. I mean, this is a second-round player in a lot of leagues, but you're at least closer to that than you were weeks prior. The guys are still averaging only 2.4 a start, which isn't bad, but it's nowhere near the expected. Yeah, he has 239 points. He just gave you 47 in a week. So a big chunk of those points came from this past week. I'd move on. I'd also get why you want to hold, right? You've had him this long. Why not just ride him out for the rest of the season? But again, be warned, right? There's a strong possibility that regression might occur. And if it does, the trade window for him is going to regress as well.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been the best year for Tatis to this point so far. First half, like you said, the power just not there, right? Between him and Vlad, just terrible power for both of them. But they kind of both hit for average still. They're still somewhat doing something in that lineup. But years past, Tatis has just not been the same guy. This guy is a top 5 fantasy outfielder the last few years when he's healthy. We've seen him be a 5-tool player, and his strikeouts aren't too bad, actually, for the most part. So, again, he could be a really good player. It's just this year, it's just kind of been a little bit of an outliner compared to years past. I can understand the selling high because he has had that great month like we talked about earlier. I'm in the boat of actually holding on to a Tatis. So I'm going to actually kind of go the other way with this and play devil's advocate, only because I like what I'm seeing from San Diego so far this second half. I do think they're going to make a little bit of a run. I think they're a pretty mature team as well. They're sticking around in that wild card spot. And if Tatis can come back into his old form there, he can be technically a second half MVP for that NL West, for that San Diego team. So, and the nice thing too with him is he's got that second base eligibility this year. Kind of a surprise. We didn't expect that going into the season, making that shift, but he's been doing great in that position as well. So the flexibility between having second base, outfield, now the encouraging sign of him heating up. I totally understand if you said, hey, this could be his peak. I can still get back more value from what I drafted him for the same draft capital that I sold him for. It came all the way back up, I think, at this point compared to what it was in April, May, and June. And you can maximize your get for him at this point. I'm on the boat of I like the production he's giving me now. I think it might stay. So I might just ride that out. I don't think, again, wrong answer here. No, I don't think there's any wrong answer, but I like the multiple positions. Again, outfielder is just kind of one of those tough positions to fill at kind of more of an elite pick level. Yeah, I think I'm riding him out, Doug. I think so. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'm selling high. I'm not a Tatis guy to begin with. I was never a big fan of him. I don't know. I just think like if I were to own him and I wrote about this far, I'd be like, okay, well, he's finally got some value now. Because think of it like a Valdez. Like I've held on to Valdez so long, he strings along 4 or 5 wins. I'm like, oh, okay, well now maybe I can actually just get rid of him because I don't think these 4 or 5 wins, I don't think he's going to continue. And I kind of look at this in the same boat. I mean, 1 home run in the first 2 months is kind of crazy for a Tatis. And I don't understand why or how, but I mean, just I don't know. He's hot. Take advantage of it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just a believer. I guess I'm just a believer tonight, Doug. I'm believing in everything.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. All right, here's someone else I'm selling high. And this again, hear me out on this one. Look at this. He's like, come on, man. You gonna sell me? Sell me? You know who that is. That's the Yankees starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. Last start, man, 7 innings, 3 earned, 11 strikeouts, no walk. Didn't even get the win, got the no decision. Still gave you 16.36 points against the Pirates. Listen, first and foremost, I do want to say Cole is going to have a monster second half. With that said, he was drafted so late. Now, put some context. I drafted him in the 14th round, which means I drafted him as depth with, fingers crossed that we'd see the Garrett Cole before the injury because he was injured during drafts. So, yes, I expected when he would return ups and downs, but his last start showed me how great of a pitcher he can still be. He does have 66 strikeouts and 62 innings pitched, and I think if you desperately need offensive help, this is a huge opportunity to sell a guy so much higher than he was drafted. I totally understand if you have injuries to your pitching staff, you want to hold him. I get it because I do think he'll make the rest of his starts. He's going to be out there every 5th or 6th day for the rest of the season. But if you want to cash in before the trade deadline, this is it. I mean, the way Cole's been pitching the last 2 or 3 starts, it's kind of catapulted his value drastically. Still not that elite level, but it's almost there, almost. I mean, like I said, I got him in the 14th. I'd move him, and I actually did move him. So if you need help elsewhere, I think here's a great opportunity to sell high. And again, it's one of those things where it could actually benefit the seller and the buyer.
Yeah. Hey, we did a trade. We did a trade this week, and I think
Yeah,
it's a fair trade. I think it's a great trade.
it is.
It
It
was
is.
Corbin Carroll for Garrett Cole. And the thing is, when I look at Garrett Cole, when I see this start, 7 innings, 3 year and 11 Ks, regardless of the no decision or not, I like what I see with Garrett Cole. He looks great. And it's been a minute since we've seen that great Garrett Cole consistently. But now I feel like it's almost back, Doug. I feel like he's like just about where we saw him in like 2023, 2022. Obviously, going through the injuries the last couple of years, there was a lot going on. Now that he's like a fully back 100% and he's doing his thing again, man, it's really tough not to like what you see. In saying that, though, strictly purpose of where you did draft him, like you said, 14th round is insane. Looking back at that, now you're gonna get the reap of the production with that. That said, if you just wanted to hold on to him and then you see these couple starts and said, "Hey, I'm never a Garrett Cole guy anyway. I was just hoping he was just gonna do 2 or 3 good starts." Then all of a sudden, I have this really valuable piece. All of a sudden, dude, all day, every day. Corbin Carroll was drafted in the second round of our league, so you got a second round caliber player, and all of a sudden, you only traded your 14th round pick, who you didn't even really play at all in that first half. You kind of just stashed them, and now you're reaping the production of getting a caliber outfielder back in return. And like you said, that's a win-win for both teams, in my opinion, because again, I'm buying Garrett Cole. I just gave you a really good piece for him, I feel, as well. So great sell high. And again, we haven't seen this in a few years. So is it going to continue? We don't know. We're hoping, but we don't know.
And it's funny because when we did the trade, obviously, we're in a group chat with our entire league, and what a bad trade, right? I mean, why would you trade a Corbin Carroll for a Garrett Cole? And what does he do? He goes out and he strikes out 11. He strikes out 11, and no one ever brought that up ever again. Because it's such a good trade. Yeah, hey, Corbin Carroll did hit a home run the same day. It was funny how it all worked out, right? Honestly, I don't think they're – I think it could go either way. Like, Corbin Carroll's been so streaky this year. You know what you're getting with Cole? Like, he might give up a couple runs more than usual, but he's giving you a ton of strikeouts. He's going to give you a ton. I think he's going to be a monster the second half. I really do.
Yeah, I really do think the Yankees do need a bat still in that lineup. If they do get out and bat and they could, get a couple runs per game extra, that's just only going to benefit Cole too, and that whole rotation. And that rotation is getting healthy. Max Fried's back. He looked really good in his first outing this week.
Yep.
They're going to be a juggernaut in the playoffs going into it as well. So I expect nothing less coming from this team. And if they, like I said, if they get another bat, it's only going to benefit these pitchers, including Cole.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. So let's flip the script here and let's talk about some buyers. There he is. I had to. I think this is a great opportunity to buy low here. I'm talking about Brewers outfield Jackson Chourio. On the week, wasn't really that good. $190, no homers, 2 ribbies, 5 runs, 9 strikeouts. They give you 2 stolen bases, 10 points, 1.7 to start. Not a great week. Not a great week for the J-Man, which I think this is something someone, if you're looking for outfield help, can take advantage of. We know Chourio strikes out a bit, 13 strikeouts in his last 8 games. He hasn't hit a home run in his last 15 games. Although these numbers might be deterring, let's look at the good. He's still averaging 2.7 to start. He can still produce fantasy-wise on the base pads, right? He does have 10 stolen bases. Let's also remember he did miss a chunk of time, so that's the reason why the stolen bases are only at 10. And the Brewers will be in the thick of the playoffs, which means he'll more than likely play every single day. If you're in need of outfield help, why not go out and buy low on a Jackson Chourio? This is a guy that was drafted in about the 4th round, and I don't think it would cost people a same player drafted in about the same round for him. I think you can go out and pay a little less for him just because the last 2 weeks or so, he's just not looked right. I think he could have a strong finish to the year, which is exactly what you need to win your league. So again, I'm going to buy Jackson Chourio regardless of the tough 2.5 weeks he's having.
Yeah, he's a streaky guy too. And yeah, he does have his down weeks for sure, and he does strike out sometimes. But everything else that comes with it is so good and so elite when he does it, right? He has the pop, he has the power, he's got the stolen base, he's got the average up there. Like he can be a five-tool player. And that's what we expect from him when he first got pretty much right onto the majors right from spring training, right? He won that center field job immediately at the age of 20. So again, only 20 at that time. I think he's only 22 or 23 now. He's so young still. We didn't even talk about him with that whole other category with Corbin Cowell and those other guys. You could throw him right in there. But I do love his upside, though. I love the upside. Like you said, he's playing for a Milwaukee Brewers team right now. I believe is like 6.5 games up on the Cubs right now in the division. So they're going to be competing all the way through like they have been these last few years. Jackson Chourio is hungry, I feel, to get out there on that field and start producing because he did miss up so much time. And he's coming back into a fantastic lineup. That lineup is so good up and down. I mean, Bruce Sarang hit another home run today, 15 for the season, just an absolute juggernaut of a lineup. Jackson Chourio, when he's all cylinders on, he's one of the best players in baseball, and especially for your fantasy team. So I'm a buyer. I'm not going to even dispute that even a little bit because that is a guy that Doug, that I'm a big fan of. And if you can get your hands on a Jackson Chourio, especially down the stretch, that can be a game changer.
I agree. And here's a pitcher. Here's a pitcher I'd like to buy low on. And this is a Michael King. And I'm not saying I'm not a Michael King guy. You know that.
I do.
But
I do.
Listen, Padres starting pitcher Michael King. Last start, not too bad. 6 innings, 107 strikeouts, 4 walks, a no decision, 13 points. That was in Atlanta against the Braves. Now, I'm going to say he's not an elite starting pitcher. He's a serviceable starting pitcher. And that, to me, would be a great SP3 for your fantasy lineup. So if you're looking to round out your rotation to make a run at this championship you want to get, why not go out and get a serviceable starting pitcher that won't break the bank and cost you a ton? Now, I know everyone talks about trying to trade for the studs, but honestly, it's really the lower tier guys that go out and help you win these championships. King, barring any type of injury, will probably start for the rest of the year as the Padres are fighting for a wild card spot. He does have a 3.2 ERA, but he only averages 9.2 a start. His downfall is walks, 49 walks in 119 innings. It's because of those walks, it's really tough for him to get you that quality start. But even with the losses, he doesn't kill you in points. I think his latest loss against the Dodgers, he only got you negative 1.9 points. So it's not horrible. So I wouldn't mind going out and making a bid for King, maybe shore up the rotation for a playoff run and do it at a premium since the cost for him shouldn't really be high at all, in my opinion. It's just one of those trades. Like, again, this is a trade where King, who was drafted so late, like 19th round in our draft, I mean, you could go out and make a trade where both sides win on this. But again, I'm not saying he's an elite guy. He's not. I'm just saying this is a good value guy you can go out and get, not breaking the bank, not trading a stud for a stud, just maybe trading a couple mid-round guys and kind of locking up that rotation. Because in most leagues, pitching is what wins championships because you get your most points from your wins, your quality starts, your strikeouts. He can give you all those except maybe the quality starts, and that's where the hesitation comes in a little bit. But I wouldn't mind buying low on him just to have as depth in a rotation.
Yeah, the walks are a killer. I would call him like a Dylan Cease Jr. when it comes to that because it's a whip killer. What it is also as well. It's just it kills your on base and you just can't get out of innings fast enough, and you're just throwing more pitches than you need to, and it's just it's just not good. It's just really not good. But Michael King is a strikeout per inning guy, so he can still go out there, still strike out a lot of guys, and still get you positive points, even if he does get a no decision and only go 5 innings. He can still not. He's not going to wreck you. I feel at times. I'm okay with buying on a Michael King. He's a great number 5, 6, I think, in a rotation. He's quality enough, I guess, right? Like a Freddie Peralta, like we talked about earlier, like he's a leg up from that for sure, because again, he's just not going to absolutely wreck you for the week. Another guy on this team that's also coming back pretty soon too, that you could probably also buy low, or if he's a free agent, potentially, depending on your league, is a Nick Pivetta. And I know it's kind of crazy to say that, Doug, but he is going to be back on his rehab assignment soon. He's going to need a couple rehab assignments to get the pitch count back up. But I expect him to be back around maybe the third week of August, right? And then that's when we're ramping up the fantasy playoffs, right? And if you got the Padres right in that playoff run, I mean, Nick Pivetta could be right in the middle of that. He could be right in that thick of things. And they did sign him to kind of a lengthy contract. They did sign him for some big money. So they do expect some expectation out of him, I believe, once he is healthy. So just something to keep a pulse on, I guess.
No, that's a really good call. Like I said, I mean, pitching is really what's going to help win you your league. I mean, we could both say that, I mean, especially toward the playoffs, when you're in the playoffs, honestly, because then you're going to have people that'll get skipped. You'll have innings. The playoffs is so different, man, because it's toward the end of the year and lineups are just, the way arms are just managed is so bizarre sometimes. You'll have a guy that looks like to be a 2-start, makes his first start, and then for some apparent reason, they end up pushing him back a day. That's what makes it so tough. I mean, some leagues end a week before the last week of the year. I think ours does, right? Which is, I think, a little better. I mean, because when we used to end at the end of the year, there was a lot of inconsistencies. There was a lot of people that just didn't even start that last week that you thought would, that you put them in. And I don't want to say it's unfair because it's a weekly league. It locks and everybody has the same chance of not starting, right? I mean, we both can put a player in that ends up not starting, but it does get a little unfair when it's a couple guys and you're like, well, ESPN had them starting, now they're not starting. And so I definitely like it better when leagues end a little earlier than the last week of the year. Just because of that.
1,000% agree. 1,000%. It's more realistic, I feel. Especially, it's more consistent with what you're trying to build during the season. You don't want to be starting guys that are, I don't want to call them no names or 4A players or anything like that, but it kind of turns into that, especially in the last week. So, no, let's not do that.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right, Mike, man, that was fun, dude. I can't believe the trade deadline is coming up. I really can't, man. That means the playoffs are right around the corner.
Our playoffs. I mean, are you going to make any more trades, Doug? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm getting Tucker.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, Soto just got removed from the game again because of his calf injury, so who knows what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, you got to be kidding, man.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Bobby
as
Witt,
long as I get him back. Yeah, as long as I get him back, I'll be all right. I'm not too worried about it. And then, of course, getting Corbin Carroll kind of made even more sense now, to be honest with you. And getting Marte.
That was a great move, too. Didn't see that coming.
Right? It just happened. He wanted Burke. I thought Burke for Marte was – I don't think anybody would accept that. Even as good as Burke has been, it's like Marte's number one. He's still the number one second baseman. So I said, well, what if I just threw in Murakami? And he just accepted right away.
Wow. That's a great deal. I like that.
I don't think it was overpaid. I think it's good for both. Yeah. I mean, Murakami's been walking a lot more. He's getting on base more than he has the first half. Strikeouts are down a little bit. So who knows what the second half has in store for him.
Hey, fingers crossed. He's healthy now. He looks good. Maybe that power.
No home runs, though.
I was about to say, hopefully the power comes back. That's kind of the weird thing so far to this point.
Right. But what are you going to do? All right, man. So we got to talk about some of the hottest players for Week 16. We got to talk about some good sell high, buy lows. We're going to make sure to catch us Monday morning, 8 p.m. We're going to do our weekly drop. We're going to be talking about lineups, pitching matchups, some good streamers. We'll give you some injury updates, all that fun stuff to get your lineup set for you for success for Week 17. Crazy. Years flying by. But make sure to like us, heart us, all that good stuff. FSAN, Bourbon N Ball, YouTube, Facebook, all that fun stuff. So for Mikey V, I'm Doug. This is Bourbon N Ball. Yeah, have a good rest of the week. Have a great night. Have fun.